Hey everybody, I'm recording this video to talk about your project that you're going to turn in toward the end of the quarter here, but which starts its first phase um, just next week. So let me share my screen here. So if you scroll down to chapter 4, you'll see that it says Inference Project Phase 1 um, is due on Monday at midnight. So let me go ahead and click on this and we'll kind of walk through what this thing's all about so that you're comfortable doing the first phase of this project. To put it real succinctly, the project is an opportunity for you to show that you understand how to develop a research question, go out and collect data that'll help you answer that research question, display that data, and then analyze it to ultimately come to a conclusion. Another way of putting it is I'm asking you to develop your own question and collect data and then do a hypothesis test. So this word inference, it is kind of an umbrella term that refers to both hypothesis testing and confidence intervals. So that's the reason for that name. But essentially, you are picking your own topic. Now, while I am okay if you want to go and collect data from the real world to answer a question that interests you, um, I have been showing you how to work with the islands throughout the quarter so that you can use the islands as the venue that you'll do this project in. And so that's what most students ultimately elect to do, just, because it is a little bit more convenient than collecting real world data. So here's what you're going to do. I'm just going to kind of go through the instructions for phase one of the project here. It says the purpose of this project for you to demonstrate your ability to collect and display data, analyze it statistically, and draw appropriate conclusions. You're going to design a study that can kind of fit into one of these three categories here. And what I need you to do is to be comparing two groups to one another in some way. Okay. So here's kind of your three options. You can either say, you can ask the question, is there a difference in the percent of something for group A and the percent of something for group B? Here's a kind of more concrete example of what that might look like here. Is there a difference in the percent of Democrats who follow football and the percent of Republicans who follow football, right? So you're comparing two groups, Democrats and Republicans, and then you're measuring the percentage of them that follow football. All right. Another option is to compare two averages. Is there a difference in the average of something for group A and the average of something for group B? So this would be comparing two independent means, which is the lesson that you should be finishing up today. Here's a concrete example of that. Is there a difference in the average number of hours slept by men and women in a typical night? So that would be an example of number two. And then finally, number three, you can run essentially a paired data test. Is there a difference in the average of something before and after some sort of intervention? This example here is one that you actually did in an earlier assignment. Is there a difference in the average time it takes to complete a memory test before and after alcohol is consumed? So that would be a paired data test. So two proportions is number one, two means is number two, and paired data is number three. You just have to pick one of those formats to base your question around. All right, so here's what I need from you for phase one. I basically just need your idea. I want you to turn this phase one in by 11:59 p.m. on Monday night so that I have plenty of time to look at your idea and either give you the thumbs up or ask you to adjust something. So here are the things that I need. So number one, state the type of study you're conducting. Is it an observational study? Is it an experiment? Or is it a quasi experiment? And just as a reminder, a quasi experiment is something that looks like an experiment. You've definitely done some sort of intervention, but there's no random assignment to a treatment and control group. So here's number three here is an example of a quasi-experiment, right? There's definitely an intervention, the consumption of alcohol before the consumption of alcohol between the two tests that they take, but there's no randomly assigning people to a drinking alcohol group and a not drinking alcohol group. So that would be one I would classify as quasi experiment. So which of those three is it? That's what you're going to put here. Then number two, are you going to be looking at averages or percentages? And remember that the key here is you want to think about what type of data am I collecting? So if I'm walking around actually collecting the data, am I writing down numbers? If that's the case, then it's numerical, right? And so you'd want to be working with averages. Am I collecting categories in some way? Then I would want to be working with percentages. Number three, state the exact question of your study. And so, in other words, kind of put it in this one of these formats here, right? Just boil it down to one single sentence that describes the question you're trying to answer about two different groups. And then finally, give a description of how you're going to collect the data, right? Is this all going to come from a single city? Are you going to randomly choose cities and then randomly choose people inside of those cities? Like what's your methodology for collecting the data? So I want you to submit this and then wait to get feedback from me before you actually start collecting your data. So what's going to happen is after I give you the go ahead and say, yes, your idea looks good, go for it, then you're going to go work on phase two and Inference Project phase two, which is due the following Monday on the 9th. That is just you simply collecting your data and then attaching your data in a CSV file here so that I can take a look at it. And then finally, project phase three is here in chapter 5, and that's due at the very end of the quarter. And the third phase of the project, I'll go over this in more detail later, but basically it's having you put all this together and present me with your data, your conclusions, and all that. And so this is the criteria. So feel free to read through this yourself so you can kind of have an idea of where you're going. But like I said, I'll kind of reintroduce this as we get a little bit closer to when it's due. All right. And then on a unrelated note to that, but also important, is as we prepare for exam 3, which you have the option of either taking on Sunday the 8th or Monday the 9th, as you prepare for that, there will be a review on after the weekend on Monday the 2nd. It's from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, I know that the evening one was really well attended that I did, and the afternoon one less so. I'm trying kind of a lunch hour one just because I don't have my evenings available early next week. So 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. But again, remember, I will record the review session if you cannot attend live during that time. And that will be, once it's recorded, down here. And in this recording, there'll be a video that appears here. Here's the questions that we'll be doing on Monday. So it doesn't hurt to kind of look through them ahead of time, maybe try some of them yourself ahead of time. And then the big review assignment that after kind of doing the review recording here that you can do to really help you prepare for the third exam is this inference review. Okay. So I would this weekend focus on doing phase 1 of your project. I would focus on completing all the homework for chapter 4, and then focusing on this exam 3 inference review after you've watched the review session and gone through all the problems that we do in that review session Monday. Then I would go ahead and get started on this exam 3 review. All right. If you have any questions about getting ready for exam 3 or about the project, please do reach out, and I'll get back to you on that. That being said, I'll also be checking, the homework form over the weekend. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to post to the homework forum as you're finishing up these chapter 4 homework assignments and phase 1 of the project. All right. Have a great weekend.